Hey, what's up everybody and welcome back to News Dose. So, the Game Awards are finally almost upon us. That does take place next month on December 8th. Very much looking forward to that. Now, I know the Game Awards has really shifted into this major showcase where we get a lot of game updates, new premieres, and all that type of jazz, but it's also a time to celebrate the best games of the year. Well, about that, they did officially unveil the nominees for 2022. Now, overall, I would say that I was pretty happy with this list, outside of maybe one of the decisions that I'm not so sure about, but we're going to talk about all of that a little later on in the video. Also, the Activision Blizzard Buyout saga continues on with a bit of a strange twist this time. There is now a question looming on whether or not there's some platform bias going on within the European Commission. I mean, there was already some concern about this happening with the CMA, but yeah, now the European Commission finds themselves in a similar spot as well, so we're definitely going to have to go over that one today. Per usual though, before we get started today, if you are new to the channel and if you like this type of content, do make sure to hit those nifty little buttons below, like, subscribe, and yes, do whack that bell as hard as you possibly can. With that said, though, let's just go and jump right into things, starting off with Xbox's new first-party game by Obsidian Entertainment. I mean, we know how good this studio is. Well, they do have another game releasing tomorrow, being Pentiment. Now, this game has been going a little bit under the radar. It's a little different with its art style and everything. It's this murder mystery set in the 16th century, and it's a very narrative-driven game. So, yes, it is a different style of game, but fans might want to pay a little bit more attention to Pentiment because reviews are rolling out now, and well, what do you know? It's got an 86 overall score on Metacritic with 40 total reviews as of this recording. 37 of those reviews are positive with only 3 mixed. So, I mean, critics, they seem to be loving this game. In fact, it is one of the better reviewed, completely new games that's released in 2022. Obsidian, once again, they just have absolutely knocked it out of the park. And they really do continue to prove why they were such a great acquisition for Xbox. And I mean, if you look at their output since being acquired, it's actually crazy what they've been able to pull off. So far, since Microsoft picked them up in 2018, they've released The Outer Worlds, Grounded just barely over a month ago, and now Pentiment. All 3 of these games have been highly praised, and they still, and this is the crazy part, they still have more coming relatively soon. We already know that they're working on games like Avowed and The Outer Worlds 2 as well. So Obsidian, they really are proving to be that top-tier studio for Xbox with not just their big AAA releases, which I think that they've already had a pretty good reputation in, but they're also showing their creativity with some of these smaller games here as well. If you do want to check out Pentiment, though, it will be out tomorrow again on November 15th, and yes, this does include a day 1 Xbox Game Pass release. I know there's certain people out there that wants to act like Game Pass has no games, but I mean, if you really want to look at, just the last couple of months, if anything, Xbox Game Pass has too many games by this point. Sometimes it is legitimately difficult keeping up. I think some of you out there probably knows exactly what I'm talking about here. Next up here, CD Projekt Red finally gave us an update on that next-generation Witcher 3 upgrade and when we'll get to play it ourselves. It is now set for a December 14th release, so exactly 1 month from this video, and it does sound like they put a lot of effort into this upgrade. You can actually see here posted up by Shinobi, which gives you a good summary on what's happening with this update. This upgrade will include dozens of visual, performance, and technical improvements, a variety of mods integrated into the game, new content inspired by the Netflix show. That there is really interesting. Also, ray tracing support, and PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Switch versions will also receive an update with additions and improvements. So there's actually a lot going on with this update. I figured it would just be visual based, but they're actually also including completely new content with the Netflix tie-in. That to me was a little unexpected, but really just all the more reason to dive into this masterpiece once again. Maybe I'll also finally finish its expansions, but there you go, December 14th. Oh, and by the way, the best part about all of this is that its upgrade will be completely free for current owners. So, yeah, look forward to it. Alright, so let's go and talk about this Activision Blizzard acquisition once again, though. I know it always feels like something is happening with this buyout because pretty much that is the case. And really, sometimes it's just unnecessary. Well, this time, That's how I feel. This really is a situation that shouldn't have happened in the first place. But because some people in the world, they just don't know how to keep their mouth shut on social media, they don't know how to be professional, and they search for internet clout. But what happens is that instead, they create problems that shouldn't have existed in the first place. And that's what's happening here. So I guess Ricardo Cardarso, I hopefully I'm pronouncing that properly, but Ricardo Cardarso decided to wake up and just posted this. The commission is working to ensure that you will be able to play Call of Duty on other consoles, including my PlayStation. Also on our to-do list, update stock pictures. These gamers have wired controllers, whereas Xbox and PlayStation have wireless ones since about 2006. Okay, so Mr. Ricardo here just posted this with absolutely zero context whatsoever, and then just up and moved on without a care in the world. Now, I think what he thought was going to happen here is the fans are going to cheer him on. Oh yeah, let's protect PlayStation, be the gamer's hero. But that's not what happened here at all. In reality, all he did was bring up concern about the European Commission's professionalism. Is there platform bias happening here? Because that could be a problem. It's the same thing that happens in a court case. If there's somebody in a jury that has some type of relation with another person involved in the case, the court can then kick that person off the jury because they don't want a biased opinion involved. And that's what Mr. Ricardo was doing here by saying, quote unquote, my PlayStation. He makes himself look biased and self-interested. That's a problem, as it's not his job. The European Commission is supposed to follow guidelines to protect consumers, but we're already seeing with the CMA, they're kind of fighting for Sony to keep their market lead instead. Their job is not to protect Sony, and now you have this Mr. Ricardo guy here saying things like, my PlayStation. So yeah, it's pretty easy to connect the dots here. Concern is starting to boil over regarding the European Commission and how they're going about things. And here's the kicker to all of this. After Mr. Ricardo figured out that, yeah, he might have made a mistake, he went back to Twitter to say this. To clarify, I am not involved in the assessment of the merger and don't even work in the department dealing with mergers. As is clear from my profile, my comments are personal and not a commission position whose decision will be taken on the basis of the facts and the law. Okay, so let's just go and get this straight here. So he works with the European Commission. He then leads fans to believe that they're working to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation, then comes back to backtrack and says he has nothing to do with the assessment of the merger. There were some decisions here that I would deem unnecessary. That original tweet, whether he wants to admit to it or not, considering his position within the European Commission, is misleading at best and biased at worst. Go ahead and take your pick here. Either which way, this is not a good look for the European Commission, which is actually why they posted their own official response to this whole ordeal. See what type of mess you kind of created here, Mr. Cardarso? Yeah, let's just go and check out their statement that they made to Tweaktown, where they said, as you've correctly pointed out, Mr. Cardoso works in the Director General for the Internal Market and not in the Directorate General for Competition. Mr. Cardoso is not involved in the assessment of this transaction. Furthermore, as indicated clearly in his Twitter profile, he tweets in a personal capacity. Okay, so as you can kind of see here, they're trying to divert this situation of perceived bias because, again, Mr. Cardoso, he kind of created a situation that probably shouldn't have happened in the first place. I hope somebody, because now that this has all been clarified and everything, I hope somebody within the European Commission kind of talked to this guy about how this makes them look. It's just unprofessional at the end of the day, and I don't know how somebody could actually make this comment without realizing that. It's fine if you have your own opinions. It's fine if you have your own preferences, but there's a time and a place, and this was not it. This acquisition is still ongoing. It's a nearly $70 billion acquisition, and nobody, and I mean absolutely nobody, needs to hear your opinions about your PlayStation when you work with the European Commission in at least some capacity. Keep it internal. It's not that difficult. In the words of Dwight Schrute, when I'm about ready to do something, I think, would an idiot do that? And if they would, I would not do that thing. That advice from Michael Scott, as he said, changed his life. I feel like a lot of other people in this world need to take that advice, but hey, it is what it is. One way or the other, though, this is a terrible look for the European Commission, and there will be that looming question just kind of going forward for a lot of fans, and you also kind of got to wonder how Microsoft feels about this situation. Are they bothered by this person coming out and saying the Commission is working to ensure that you will still be able to play Call of Duty on other consoles, including my PlayStation, and then continues on to say also on our to-do list. He didn't say on his to-do list, he said our to-do list, meaning the entirety of European Commission. And that's kind of how he phrased the original tweet, was that it's the entirety of the European Commission working together to keep Call of Duty multi-platform. You gotta wonder how Microsoft feels about all of that. At the end of the day, though, this acquisition will continue to churn. We'll see how all of it plays out in the long run. It does seem like there's a lot of twists and turns as we just continue to move forward. But I do think a lot of the concerns regulators bring up can be countered by Microsoft. I mean, Sony, they buy their own studios. Sony, they sign exclusive after exclusive after exclusive. Sony, they've been locking down exclusive content for Call of Duty, the exact franchise that everybody's arguing about. So, I mean, there's a lot of cases that Microsoft can bring up, and I think that regulators are going to have a hard time fighting against that. But one thing that we are seeing is that Call of Duty concerns, that's the one that continuously is being brought to the forefront. I do wonder if we are heading to some type of concessions where Microsoft commits to it being multi-platform in writing. I don't know if that would bother them too much as long as they can put it into Game Pass day one still, but we'll see as we continue forward. The road ahead for this buyout, though, continues to be a long one, so just go and buckle up because I'm sure we're going to get plenty, and I mean plenty more updates in the coming months. Now, Jeff Keighley also just unveiled the Game of the Year nominees for 2022. This is always a big deal every year as it's time to celebrate the best of the best. And while I do understand that not everybody will agree with the nominees, the Game Awards is still one of the biggest events of the entire year in terms of viewership. So obviously, the nominees are going to be highly discussed and voted upon, and a lot of people, they do take it very serious. So let's just go take a look here at their 6 nominees for 2022, and this includes God of War Ragnarok, Elden Ring, Horizon Forbidden West, Stray, A Plague Tale Requiem, and then last but not least, you have Xenoblade 3. Now, obviously, nobody is shocked with the inclusions of God of War Ragnarok and then Elden Ring. In fact, I think most of us kind of expect it really to come down to Elden Ring or Ragnarok. But a couple of these games I was very, very happy to see. That really goes to both Xenoblade 3 and also A Plague Tale Requiem. I have consistently said on this channel that A Plague Tale Innocence was one of the more overlooked single-player games from last generation. But now, here we are in 2022, and its sequel is in the Game of the Year discussion. Yeah, I absolutely love seeing that, and I'll just go and say firsthand, I think that it deserves it. I think it's a good stealth-based experience in a unique setting, and it's really got a top-tier story that I would say continues to get better and better as you play it more. I think by the end of that game, you're kind of just like, wow, that was absolutely excellent. Now, as for Xenoblade 3, though, you don't usually see JRPGs on this list, so to see something like Xenoblade 3 here, I think that really goes to show you just how good this game actually is. Xenoblade really is one of Nintendo's best franchises in terms of just sheer quality, so I was thrilled to see it also included here. Now, Stray, that to me is kind of the big question mark. Now, I think Stray is a good game, don't get me wrong. I think that it has an interesting setting. You play as a cat, so I mean, that's fun. But I don't think that I ever looked at this game as a Game of the Year candidate, if you know what I mean. It's a pretty short game, too, so there's several games that I have ahead of it, such as Tunic and Bayonetta 3, which are probably the 2 big ones here. So I don't necessarily know about Stray being on this list, but hey, if that's what they want to nominate, all the power to them. And hey, you might disagree with me here as well, and if you do think it deserves to be on this list, let me know in the comments below. Now, as for what I think will actually win, though, again, it's more than likely going to come down between God of War Ragnarok or Elden Ring. Both of these games are quite frankly amazing. Though, actually, I would love to hear your all's votes, so do let me know about that in the comments below as well. Of course, though, the Game Awards, you know, that this is the name of the show, it has several other awards as well. So let's just go and take a look at the games with the most nominations. Now, I will include a link in the description below if you want to check out each category. But to top off the list, God of War Ragnarok is up for 10 nominations. Elden Ring then comes in at 7, Horizon Forbidden West with 7, Stray has 6 nominations, A Plague Tale Requiem has 5 nominations, Call of Duty has 3, Immortality with 3, Neon White also has 3, Sifu has 3, Tunic has 3, and then also Xenoblade 3 with 3 nominations. So congrats to all of the nominees here. Let's go take a look at the poll of the day, though, where I asked you all, would you prefer Nintendo stick with the hybrid design for the Switch successor or something completely unique? It does seem like they are hinting towards something unique, but I wanted your all's perspective on this, and the vast majority of you all did vote for that hybrid design with 68% of the votes, and then 25% of you voted for something unique. So yeah, you all are like me on this one as well. I just want them to stick with that hybrid design. Now, I don't mind them trying something unique with that hybrid design, but at the end of the day, I still want it to be a handheld type of device. I think that it fits Nintendo's games just absolutely perfectly, and it also separates them from other consoles in the market like Xbox and PlayStation. It's just kind of their own little thing. And yeah, I really do hope that they stick with this, but you know, that's always the thing about Nintendo. You never really completely know. They just like to switch things up, and again, they are already seemingly hinting at something unique. So yeah, it's always kind of hard to tell when it comes to Nintendo. If I were to guess, though, I do think that they will stick with that hybrid design, but I think that they're also going to do something completely different with it. I don't really know what that something will end up being. I think Custom R said it well here, though. They said, I think they should refine what they originally had going. The Switch is good as it is. They just need to fine-tune it with a successor. Actually, that's kind of what they did with the Nintendo DS and Nintendo 3DS, and maybe to an extent Wii U. Only thing is, the business model for the Switch is also better. And yeah, I agree with that. The 3DS took what made the DS popular. It had that dual screen and everything. It also had backwards compatibility and all that, but then it also did something unique with the 3D screen. The same can really be said for the Wii to the Wii U, just not very successfully in that situation. So I think they could end up doing something similar with the Switch to whatever their next device might be. They might take that hybrid design and just try to mix things up a little bit while also boosting the power, like we saw to the DS to the 3DS. Like many of you all said, though, really a power boost? I mean, I think for me, that's really all I need, and I am all in immediately. I don't need it to be any more unique than it already is, but you know, this is Nintendo we're talking about. Nintendo, they do Nintendo-like things, so at the end of the day, I guess we'll just have to see what they have cooking. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to hit the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.